Hello and welcome to class number 20 of the quick revision series for Prelims 2024. I hope you have been enjoying and learning a lot from this series. We have already had 19 classes in the last 19 days. In case you have missed out on any of the classes, I am giving the link of the entire playlist in the description of this video. You can go and see that class as well. Also, if you want the PDF of these lectures, all that you need to do is become a part of our Telegram channel. The link I'm giving in the description of the video. Click on that link and you can become a part of that channel and download the PDFs as well for your further revision. We are continuing today with the most important news stories of the last 1 year from geography. Let's begin with the first one. The first news is about critical minerals. Now, the government of India has been, just like many other countries around the world, focusing on exploration of critical minerals that are critical in emerging technologies, be it the semiconductor industry, be it the AI industry, smart devices. There are certain minerals that are required in their manufacturing in large numbers. Most of these minerals are found in Africa and South America. Countries such as China have already made partnerships with those countries where these minerals are found. Countries around the world, US, Japan, India, Germany, all of these are looking to explore these minerals as much as possible. Now, the government of India is also trying to see how many of these minerals can we find in India and how do we auction the mining process. The government has identified 30 minerals so far, and the government has created a legal framework for how to put auction on these minerals. Now, these are minerals, as I said, that have a strategic importance, and they are also a part of rare earth elements. They are essential because their presence is required in many important components of emerging technologies, including smartphones, electric vehicles, solar panels, etc. Because of their limited supply, countries around the world are looking to pay a heavy price for these minerals. There are some examples. Lithium, for example, very important component in rechargeable batteries. For example, lithium ion batteries, I'm sure you would have heard of it. Lithium ion batteries are used in electric cars and even in satellites as well. Cobalt, very important again, required in the production of lithium ion batteries. Apart from that, also required in aerospace industry. There are platinum group metals such as platinum, palladium, etc. required for catalytic converters. There are rare earth elements that are required for manufacturing high strength magnets, again important for electric vehicle motors. With the world now looking to move towards electric cars and these components that consume much less electricity, it's important that a constant supply of these minerals is ensured. Here are a few other facts that you must remember about this. The UPSC may ask such questions about where are these minerals mostly found. 3/4 of the world's cobalt is found in Congo. What about lithium? Major lithium reserves are seen in Chile, Australia, Argentina. There is a concept or there is a phrase called lithium triangle. 3 countries that form a triangle where most of the world's lithium resources are found, that is Chile, Argentina and Bolivia, all of these in South American continent, also called as Latin America. The Geological Survey of India has for the first time found lithium in Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. But again, remember, just finding it and exploiting it or extracting it, there's a long gap between that. So we have just found it. It will take a lot of time before we can actually extract it and use it for our manufacturing. Second important news related to geography is shelf clouds. There was a massive shelf cloud formation seen in Haridwar. What exactly is a shelf cloud? So as there's a shelf, you have a bookshelf, you have a shelf where you keep your cloth. So these are horizontal like this. So a cloud that is formed in this manner or of this shape, horizontal shape, those are called shelf clouds. So shelf is the same shelf that you use in your almirah for keeping your clothes, or your bookshelf, your shoe shelf, etc. So that kind of a cloud is called as a shelf cloud. It's also known as the Arcus clouds. They are usually seen when we have a powerful storm system developing. Because of their presence, they are also called as the wall clouds, the funnel clouds, etc. They appear ahead of a very powerful thunderstorm usually, along with heavy rain, strong winds, etc. So do remember this basic information about shelf clouds. How is it formed? There's an entire process. When the cold air basically is sent downwards by the cumulonimbus cloud and it reaches the ground, the cold air spreads rapidly along with the ground and then it pushes a warm moist air upwards. And when this warm moist air gets upwards, it causes condensation and cloud formation. This results in a distinct horizontal shape, and that is how a shelf cloud actually appears in the sky. These are the different varieties of clouds that I'm sure all of you are familiar with. You would have read this in geography. This is important. Do remember this. The shape of the clouds, a name that is given depending upon the altitude of the clouds, the low level, middle and the high level clouds. Out of these, cumulonimbus and the nimbostratus are considered as the rainmaker clouds. Next interesting news was the gravity hole, which is an anomaly in the Indian Ocean. Now, what exactly is an anomaly? Around the world, there are certain places that exhibit a very different kind of a behavior as compared to their surroundings. Different kind of a behavior can be in form of, let's say, temperature. For example, let's say there is a very big house. In that house, there is one single place where if you stand, you will feel much colder as compared to other places in the house. So that place will be called an anomaly. Anomaly means something that does not follow the same rules that apply to nearby places. Similarly, around the world, there are certain areas which show certain anomaly. For example, there is something called the gravity hole in the Indian Ocean. So inside the Indian Ocean, there is a place called the gravity hole, very near south of India. This is a place where the Earth's gravitational force is lower as compared to the nearby areas. Now, this is interesting, but this is not something that is unexpected. The reason is that the Earth's gravitational force anyways is not constant around the entire Earth. As you know, it depends on the mass distribution of the Earth, how the mass is distributed amongst crust, mantle and the core. And this is where the gravity hole in the Indian Ocean becomes a very interesting example. It is about 106 meters lower than the global average and covers around 1.2 million square miles area. This starts from just south of India and it was first discovered in 1948. Do remember, it is also known as Indian Ocean Geoid Low because of the low gravitational force that is seen in this area as compared to the surrounding areas. There are certain other anomalies. For example, a famous one is the Karakoram anomaly. Why? Because the Karakoram range, the central part of it, has much more growth of glaciers as compared to nearby areas. So apart from the central part of the Karakoram, in the nearby areas, the glaciers seem to be retreating, seem to be melting. But in the central part of the Karakoram, the glaciers still seem to be intact and seem to be growing in fact. That is why it is named as the Karakoram anomaly. There are other types of anomalies as well. The temperature one, the example that I gave you earlier. When you're standing at a place which is much cooler as compared to surroundings, that is called a temperature anomaly. And it has been seen in certain weather conditions as well. For example, March 2023 was the second warmest March on record, while the warmest March was in 2016 when there was a big El Nino that triggered almost a global warming, a mini global warming of sorts. So these kind of events do keep on happening and they are considered as anomalies of different types. Next topic in the news is the Anthropocene epoch. What exactly is this? Let's first understand epoch. Epoch is a period of time that is distinct from the earlier period. For example, let's say we say that in the last 10,000 years, the climatic conditions changed drastically. So that 10,000 year can be put in a bracket and called an epoch. So epoch basically is a time period that has or that usually shows a different kind of a character, some very specific drastic character as compared to the other time period. Now scientists around the world had been saying that because of so much human activities that are against the environment, because of our human practices that are unsustainable in nature, the scientists were fearing that the current epoch, that is the Anthropocene epoch that is about to begin, will begin shortly, and it will see a drastic change in how the Earth's climate and atmosphere is. However, right now the scientific community has decided that this epoch has still not started. So we have still not entered an era where we are supposed to see a drastic change in our environment around us. It may be seen as a good news or something that we are just delaying the inevitable, or at least the scientists say it has not started. This term, that is the Anthropocene term, was first proposed in the year 2000 by Nobel Prize winning chemist Paul Crutzen, where he referred to the fact that the changes that are being seen in our environment in and around the earth, that will now multiply, or that will culminate rather, into a big change for the coming generations, and this should be called the Anthropocene epoch. As I said, epoch is a time period during which the human activity has had a significant impact on the earth's ecosystem and geology. The earlier epoch was the Holocene epoch that ran for about 11,700 years. This was a time period where we saw very stable climatic conditions. For example, the climatic conditions have not changed so much in the last 11,000 years. The earth has maintained a temperature which is suitable for sustained animal and human life. This epoch may change that in the coming years. Do remember, this Anthropocene epoch has not been officially recognized right now by the International Commission on Stratigraphy. It may be recognized later on. It's just a term that is used by the scientific community right now. These are some of the features that are expected to be in Anthropocene epoch. Human intervention means we will see a lot of changes in the Earth's system because of human intervention. Changes such as climate change, deforestation, the use of land, acidification of ocean will increase, loss of biodiversity. All of this will be seen in much larger numbers, and it will have a grave impact. Climate change and biodiversity loss will also become increasingly common, and we will see a release of greenhouse gases such as CO2 and methane from burning of fossil fuel in much larger numbers. So again, all of these activities have already started. We'll have to see how it impacts the Earth's system in the long run. Next news, the central government has announced that lightning is still not a natural disaster. Let's first understand what is this concept. So there is a list of disasters that the government of India recognizes as natural disasters. So if someone dies in a natural disaster, for example, let's say earthquake, if someone loses their life in natural disaster, you will see that they who are injured, or if they have passed away, their family members get some financial help from the government, from the state disaster response fund. That is only given if you lose your life or if you are injured in a natural disaster. Government of India says lightning is not a natural disaster. So if someone loses their life due to lightning, the victim will still not be entitled to any compensation under the disaster response fund, because the central government says that no, it is not a natural disaster. There has been a demand for a long time that it should be the case, but the government of India has not accepted it, so do remember this. Lightning, as you know, unfortunately takes multiple lives every single year in India. Lightning is nothing but a massive discharge of electricity into the atmosphere directed towards the earth, because earth is a good conductor of electricity. When lightning is in between the clouds, it is harmless for us, but when it is from cloud to the ground, that is when it becomes very dangerous, because it leads to very high electric voltage and current. This discharge can occur in a moisture cloud that is about 10 to 12 kilometer long. Again, an important reason why it happens is that earth is a good conductor of electricity, and earth is positively charged as compared to the middle layer of the atmosphere. Thus 15 to 20% of the current comes towards the earth, and if it hits anyone who is in that affected area, it immediately kills that particular person by burning the body internally. The upper layer of the cloud, as you know, becomes positively charged with all these electrons that are released, and after their collision, all these charges are free flowing. Middle layer is negatively charged, and then they are attracted towards the earth, that is positively charged. and that is how positive negative energy or charges lead to electricity being conducted towards the earth. There are certain areas in India that are much more lightning prone. For example, Madhya Pradesh has the highest ground lightning rate, followed by Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Odisha and West Bengal. We have also seen lightning cases in Bihar, UP, Karnataka, etc. Do remember this fact also, Earth's most lightning activity is observed at Lake Maracaibo. Do tell me in the comment section where exactly is it. In which country do you have this lake? Do tell me. It's an interesting fact that you should know. Tell me in the comment section. Next, number 206, concept of water spouts. What is water spout? Let me first show you a photo so that you can understand. So this is a water spout. It seems like kind of a mini cyclone. It's not really a cyclone. So basically, water body, when you see over a water body, there is a kind of a fountain that erupts and it reaches the clouds, low-lying clouds. That is usually called as water spout. What a very big water spout was recently seen in Russia, and there were a lot of videos that went viral, and that is why water spouts became a very interesting and important word around us. So what exactly is this? How do you define it? It's a tornado-like column or tunnel where you see air rotating very quickly and forms over the surface of the sea usually. They are formed in warm and humid environment where there is difference of temperature between the warm water surface and the cooler air above. So very similar to how tornadoes are formed in other parts of the world. There are two types of water spouts, tornadic and fair weather. Tornadic are the ones that are formed from a rotational thunderstorm. Fair weather are usually formed not when there's a tornado forming, but due to a single cumulus cloud and are much less common. They are seen in Europe, Middle East, Australia, etc. They can vary in size. They are generally called as weaker tornadoes as well. They have the potential to have some harm, but they're usually caused over the water body only. So they mainly pose a risk to anyone inside water, boats, ships or swimmers. If they move close, that is when it becomes dangerous to come near these water spouts. Next, important news, something that was in discussion, plastic culture. What exactly is this? There is an increasing tendency that we will recycle plastic by using it in agriculture in some form or the other. And there are some plastic that are used in fertilizer, there are some plastic that are used in various other ways. It was earlier seen as a way to use plastic and recycle it. But now studies have found out that plastic culture or using plastics in any form in agriculture can be extremely dangerous. 1 kg of thin mulching seeds is enough to cover and contaminate 600 square feet of agricultural land. And that is why now plastic culture is a technique that is being discouraged. It refers to using plastic materials in agriculture. It is used as plastic mulch in drip irrigation, in pests, extreme weather condition, weeds, etc. It may seem to be beneficial for crop production. It might increase the production of the crop in the short run, but in the long run, it has a very negative impact on the environment and also on the one who is consuming these plants. Another news is about solar maximum and solar minimum. The scientists say that in 2025, that is next year, we might see a solar maximum. What exactly is solar maximum and solar minimum? So it's a simple idea. The time when you have the greatest number of sunspots in any solar cycle on the sun, that is called solar maximum. On the other hand, when you have the least number of sunspots in any solar cycle, that is called solar minimum. Both of these are different and they have usually an 11-year cycle. So last solar maximum was in 2014. So it's expected that the next one would be in 2025. Again, it's not a fixed cycle, but usually it is seen in an 11-year cycle. What is the impact? These can have a major impact on satellites, space weather mainly, even on communication system and on astronauts. And that is why it is usually considered as an unsafe time to send missions from all around the world into space. The solar maximum is more frequent and more intense. It results in increased magnetic activity. On the other hand, solar minimum is less intense and does not cause so much harm. Also, the solar maximum are more frequent and can be seen as much more vivid. Do remember that. Next, silvopasture system. Now, the UPSC has a tendency of just giving you this word and asking you what is the meaning of it. In the past few years, they have started asking these questions. They will say silvopasture recently in the news refers to what? So you do have to understand what exactly is this. In simple terms, silvopasture means a system where same piece of land should be used for grazing, for forest, for having high trees, basically sustainable use of the land for multiple purposes, including forest, grazing, crops, etc. That is called as silvopasture. For example, look at this. So single piece of land being used to have large trees also, to have grass also, to carry out your cultivation, to carry out your other activities. All of these being done at one single piece of land to maintain a good balance. This is called the silvopasture system. Now, how does it work? How is it important? Basically, it is a sustainable land management practice which includes trees, crops, livestock grazing all on the same piece of land. That is this system. It is silvopasture. It means carefully selecting trees or tree species that have to be planted on the grazing lands. Those trees that are not eaten up by the sheep or by the other animals that are being grazed, making sure that they only eat the crops, the grass and not the trees. These trees can help in sustaining the moisture in the land. These trees can also help in providing the shade and increasing the productivity of the land in the long run. The sheep, goats, etc., they can graze freely in the area and they can have whatever they want to eat. But again, making sure that the trees that are planted there are those which will not be consumed or which will not be grazed upon by these livestock. This is how a silvopasture system is different from an open pasture system. Open pasture system basically means an unmanaged grazing on the grassland. It will have no trees or woody plants. You just let your cattle free in the ground. Silvopasture system would have trees etc. to provide shelter, shade also. Silvopasture system will have a diverse variety of trees etc. and understory vegetation. It will have much improved soil health and it will require much more planning, but it will get you long-term ecological benefits for the environment as well. Something that is usually not seen in the open pasture system. Last news 210 is that the government of India has recently discovered 62 new desiccation tolerant vascular plants. Now, what exactly is this? Don't be confused. It looks like a difficult word, but it's an easy word. Desiccation means a plant that is able to sustain even when you take out a lot of water. So basically in simple terms, it is dehydration. So when you take out a lot of water, the plants can sustain even then. Those are called desiccation tolerant plants. So desiccation means taking out water. It can be because of the heat, because of dry weather, it can be because of other conditions. So there are 62 new plant species that have been discovered that are able to sustain even when they are dehydrated to a very, very large extent. These are called desiccation tolerant vascular plants. They can survive dehydration by losing up to 95% of their water content. Dehydration can occur when plants lose more water than they can intake. As per a study, there are about 300 to 1500 species of these plants. Out of the 62 species that have been found in the Western Ghats, 16 are native to India, while others are not really native to India. It's a good discovery because these kind of plants are important in the coming times when you would have a problem of the supply of enough water to the plants. The study was conducted by the scientists at Agarkar Research Institute in Pune, that comes under Department of Science and Technology. Again, remember, 62 of these new species have been found. Before this, only 9 species were known to be found in India that had these characteristics. Now 62 more have been found. There are some other facts about these DT plants. They are found in both tropical and temperate regions. They can regenerate very quickly when the water supply is restored. So, for example, there are certain plants that you have in your home which don't need to be watered every day. Let's say you go on a vacation for a week, you could not water these plants, most of the plants will die. But there are certain plants that when you come back and you give them water, they'll again revive very quickly. So these are those kind of plants. They're crucial for the world's warming. As the world warms up, as we have increase in global temperature, we require these plants that are able to sustain at a lesser quantity of water. Hydration and desiccation are two mechanisms that are seen in plants in harsh conditions. So do read about this as well. This brings us to the end of this class number 20 of geography. A lot more classes coming up. Geography classes for the next few days. Do remember to join in at each and every class every day at 6 p.m. If you want to download the PDF of these lectures, join the Telegram channel. The link I am giving in the description of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye. Jai Hind.